Welcome to the Big Suey, presented by DraftKings.
Why are you listening to this show?
The podcast that seems very similar to the other Dan Le Batard podcast.
I'm sorry, I'm not going to apologize for that.
In fact, the only difference seems to be this imaging.
I have been tempted in restaurants just walking past tables to grab somebody's fries that if they're just there. That hasn't happened to you guys?
I've done it.
And now, here's the marching man to nowhere, Fat Face, and the habitual liar.
Bummer to start a segment this way, but we wanted to pay our respects collectively to Jason Jenkins and his family. Jason was the senior vice president over at the Miami Dolphins, had been in the market, had climbed within the organization over the course of several years. And you could see from all the tributes, both on the Dolphins broadcast and Mike McDaniel's words after the game and from a lot of people that worked in the media, how truly loved Jason was, immensely respected, an incredibly kind man at a position where you don't run into that often. It's a weird dynamic sometimes with media folks and media relations people, and someone being kind in that position can really go a long way. I know for me personally, a lot of my friends in the industry share this experience in getting to know Jason and working with him. He was especially kind to people just making their way in the business, people that were unsure of themselves, people that weren't very confident, could be easily intimidated. And usually, as you climb, you'll run into people that may use that against you. Jason was extra kind to those young ones that were just trying to find their way, and he was a guiding hand. And he passed away tragically over the weekend, right before the Dolphins game, and it hit everybody like a ton of bricks. Chris, I know you have known Jason for quite some time too, and you know him pretty well. You're the one that actually delivered the news to me, and all the wind left my body once I heard that devastating news, because he was just so immensely respected and so incredibly kind and just so young. This is a very tragic thing that we're dealing with down here locally.
Yeah, and in some ways I sort of feel bad in a weird way for people that heard this immense outpouring. Is they're like, I imagine they want to feel something like everyone in this very public sphere does as well, but he's just one of those people behind the scenes that no fan would ever deal with. And yeah, maybe you felt a certain kind of way about the Dolphins have been in the community, and you might have seen his face in pictures, but most people don't have an experience with this man. But everyone who did, and like you said, it's incredibly startling for a PR person to be this level of popular, because they kind of always have to be the bad guy. They have to be the bad guy that tells you that your interview request was denied, or the coach doesn't want to reveal this information and all that. And PR people can sometimes be very unpopular as a result. But he just completely overwhelmed it with kindness. And you mentioned the stories of people getting into the industry and not having known a lot. And I was very much in that same sphere. When I was starting in local radio in Miami, I went to go cover the Dolphins because that's one of the jobs that kind of lower level employees do. You go and get sound and all that. And I remember it as being around the time that he took over full-time as head of the PR department. There was this guy, I believe his name is Harvey Green, who ran that department for decades when Don Shula was in charge all the way through until the mid-2010s. And when I started covering the team was around the time that he took over. And he made me feel like I was important as the columnist for the Miami Herald, or local TV reporters, or national reporters. Recently, Jessica and I had an experience with him where we were covering the Miami Grand Prix, and I kind of reached out to the Dolphins because they're running the event, and he made me feel as important as international broadcasters that were going to be involved with the event. It was just, he was such a nice man, and I don't think it can be underestimated for everyone that dealt with him, like how difficult this was to process. Because it was funny, I talked to you, and you were like, I was just talking with him. I talked to somebody else, and he was like, I was just talking to him. Everyone had just spoken to Jason Jenkins because he was that level of nice and communicative, and we all dealt with him. And it's so bizarre that the next time I go to a Dolphins thing or another Grand Prix that you don't see his smiling face. He was so kind. Give me a hug. He's the only person that every time I see him, he hugs me. And it was so hard. And I imagine it was hard, like, if you're a Dolphins fan watching the post-game press conference, you're like, why is Mike McDaniel about to break down talking about this person I've never heard of in the Dolphins organization? But it's because he meant so much to so many people.
Yeah, I mean, I would echo the same stuff. Like, the way he treated me the few times that I was there alone, and he walked me around the first time for like 25 minutes. Like, the way he could get an intern to do that for me, but it was just like he it was just so incredibly nice, and it was just terrible, man.
Yeah, he was the person that we worked through over at the Dolphins, and he was always that person for me. They had different regimes in place that had varying media policies, and he was here for pretty much all the ones. And let me tell you, it wasn't easy to get media access during the Parcells years, but he would always get back to you and explain exactly what was going on. And it's so commonplace. You don't bat an eye at someone just ghosting you at that position. If it wasn't no, if there was something that made waves over there, he'd talk it out through you. He'd talk it out with you, and you'd get better as a result of it. He wanted everybody to be on top of it. He understood that everybody had a job to do, and he didn't want to stand in the way of that. And if he couldn't necessarily give you the access, he could give you an answer. And it was no surprise that he would climb throughout that organization and lead community affairs. And look, the Dolphins franchise, they've had a lot of negative headlines recently. Especially, remember, the seeds of the Kaepernick story kind of started down here. He made sure that he got out in the community, and the Dolphins were very, very active, and he championed so many causes, both with equality on the racial side, actually getting out there in the community. He would put his hands in the dirt, to use a football cliche, and he would lead the front lines, and he was an absolute rock star for that organization. It was no surprise that he touched Mike McDaniel's life in that way, so in such a brief tenure, because he was the point person, and he was a point person for what became one of the biggest athletic complexes on the planet. If I had an F1 question, he was the kind of guy that if something happened to a credential or I needed anything, we were out there shooting for tennis when the tennis was in town, and I would always work through Jason Jenkins because I knew he had my best interest at heart, and he was the guy to go to there. And he was so spectacular at his job, but I should say he was spectacular at being a person. He was incredibly kind,
right?
The kindest individual you'd ever want to meet at a position, like I said, that you don't necessarily, it really sticks out because it's tough. You're the gatekeeper for so many folks. And he went over and above just the call of duty of being a human. He was that caring, that loving, that respected. And it's truly, my heart breaks so much for his family. He was such a young man, 47 years old. And he had 3 kids, and he leaves a wife as well. And my heart absolutely breaks for what she's going through, but also my heart breaks for his coworkers over at the Miami Dolphins organization and it's a tight-knit fraternity of just media people that would deal with him, but also media relations folks from other franchises in the market, and they all had the same great things to say about Jason Jenkins, and it's just a truly devastating, tragic loss. Hard to make sense of it. Right now, we're all kind of looking for answers, and you wonder how someone so good can just be taken away like that with no real reason behind it at the moment. We're all struggling for answers. I know we're going to plan on probably going to the service, and I really hope that I don't know if there's news items out there or articles. I know that some local media people have been posting their own interactions over the years with Jason Jenkins, and take a moment to look up on that to give you some insight on just how fundamentally decent this person was, how he was using his position of power in that Dolphins organization to not just make individuals better, but also the community better. He spearheaded so many of their charitable efforts, and they were better for him being there. And we're really sad as a show. We're really heartbroken individually. He was a good friend to all of us. I'd consider him a friend. Anybody that kind of met him would, off the bat, feel like they were friends with him. And that was the kind of guy that we're talking about here in Jason Jenkins. And I once again, would like to send our thoughts and prayers over to his family that have been left behind. There's just a gaping hole over there in that organization. And this is going to take quite a while for everybody to kind of feel their way through this one, because he was that good a person. So rest in peace to Jason Jenkins. We admire you. We respect you. You were a great friend to all of us, and we're worse off without you here.
Dan Le Batard.
Jess, you can't talk about double-digit national titles when every single call of you winning the national title sounds like this. Oh, there's Chubby Checker running down the sideline. If the audio... Yeah,
That's not true.
Yeah, and there's a World War II veteran pitching into another white guy, and he avoids another white guy. Oh, my God, Notre Dame, the Fighting Irish have done it again for the 8th time, only playing white people.
Stugotz.
Chubby Checker.
Sorry.
He's black.
He's black, and I was like, what's a white named Chubby Checker? I think it's like, I'm sorry, man. I'm improv here. It's a pretty cool riff.
Chubby Checker running down the side.
He spells it differently. All right, his name is Chubby. Maybe you didn't hear me correctly. His name is Chubby Checkers. There's an S at the end.
I feel like that should be the largest of five.
Yeah, Chubby. Yeah, it's Chubby Checker. It sounds like a college football name.
This is the Dan Le Batard Show with the Stugotz.
We're presented by DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now and use code Dan for a special offer when you sign up. That's code Dan, only at DraftKings Sportsbook.
I will admit that late in this draft, but I feel like I do this in every draft. I'm like, damn, there's a lot of receivers still available. But that's every year.
There were so many receivers. So for those that are, I was totally wrong on what Tony told me to do for the draft. He told me, just take all the wide receivers.
Correct.
And I understood, like, you can wait on wide receivers because there's so many.
No.
There's so many receivers.
So there's a massive run on wide receivers. I've been in a bunch of drafts where all of a sudden Justin Jefferson pops up at 2, Cooper Kupp is getting taken early, Stephon Diggs.
Top 3 in my league.
Right. Like he should, by the way. But what I was trying to tell you is in a PPR, and it depends on how many flexes or how many starting wide receivers you have. Like, you want to slam wide receivers, depends on your build, right? Do you want to do hero RB where you take one really good running back and then empty out the clip on receivers? Do you want to go zero RB where you fill in on back end guys? Like, it all depends on your strategy. You just went triple running back, quarterback, and then Gabe Davis and Lazard are your starting wideouts.
No.
I have a problem.
No. Lazard isn't my wide receiver 1. He may be Green Bay's wide receiver 1, but he's not mine. I also have Tony from
Kadarius Toney, right?
from the Giants. Mahomes is my quarterback, and I figure someone's going to pick up the production that Tyreek Hill left
But
behind.
you didn't pick Juju.
I didn't take Juju. I'm not high on Juju. I think it's going to be Mecole Hardman.
A lot of people are high on Juju right now.
Like,
I got a
Juju,
guy. I got a guy with that in that offense that I took just because I wanted. I read it. Yeah,
Sky Moore's good.
Yeah, he went.
But he's also like
guy.
down the depth chart.
Isn't MVS like the speedy guy?
Yeah,
and they're losing the speed with Tyreek Hill.
Correct,
So
but they're still going to play two. They're still going to play 2 high safeties on him though.
Okay, but is Juju going to be splitting out wide, or is he going to be a slot guy because he was a slot guy in Pittsburgh?
I think he's going to be doing both, but I think he's going to be primarily in the slot.
You think he's wide receiver 1 in Kansas City?
Yeah, absolutely.
Really?
Well, wide receiver 1 is Kelsey, right? Like, he's wide receiver 1.
This is a good point.
Wide receiver 2 is going to be Juju.
Okay. I mean, entering... I was so down on Juju from what happened. And
Me too.
It was a byproduct of...
But what happened? He was hurt like most of last season.
And Ben was horrible.
But even when he wasn't hurt, he just wasn't... What happened was...
He was good when he wasn't hurt, though.
I think Pittsburgh, and you're the Steelers fan, what I'm doing with Juju was he was the 3rd best receiver on that team.
No, I don't think that's true.
You think...
It was more scheme than anything else, right? They used him more in the running game than anything.
Last season?
Jess, who are you taking, Claypool or Juju?
Juju. I'm taking Juju over Claypool.
Wait, last year or this year?
Last year, Juju was hurt for most of the season.
You're taking an SC guy over a Notre Dame guy?
Juju has more experience. I think Claypool has higher upside, which is why I think they kept Claypool, and they're keeping him, and they got rid of Juju.
And they're playing him where?
They're playing him in the slot,
like, which is massive because he's 6'4" and 240
he's
pounds.
Better than I think he's better in the slot as like a deep receiver.
Of course,
anyways. He looks better that way. But I don't know. I think Juju's really good.
All right, so I'm gonna have to admit that I'm wrong.
I mean, the thing is that he hasn't been that guy since 2018.
Yeah,
but if you look at him since his
he has a big year though.
Hasn't been able to throw the ball more than 10 yards. Since
yeah, but wouldn't that benefit someone in the slot?
No, it benefited Deontay Johnson because he caught 19 passes a game because he would just run 7-yard in routes.
Well, because Deontay Johnson's also better than Juju Smith-Schuster.
Well, yes, I agree with that.
I agree with that.
Yeah,
I think that's what I thought you were going to ask me, Deontay Johnson or Juju Smith-Schuster.
Well, because I thought
would say
Claypool was
Deontay
easy.
Johnson.
I
would say Deontay Johnson, Juju, Claypool, but Claypool has better upside, I think, moving forward if he plays well this
If
year.
he plays in the slot.
So I'm just wholly wrong on Juju Smith-Schuster. He
Yeah.
can be the guy that he was in 2018 and then offense.
I think he was really good.
It's his quarterback, right? It's dependent on
Yeah.
his quarterback. His
Well,
quarterback
that's-
couldn't throw, and now his quarterback can throw.
It's so difficult to figure out the context of those receivers from a fantasy point of view because even Marquez Valdez-Scantling, who is meant to bring something, but like in Green Bay, he was just sort of okay. Like he wasn't a spectacular receiver.
He was a take the
in
top
Green
off the
Bay,
defense guy.
and he's playing with one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time. And so you have that paired against. There's like these 4 receivers that could be the big guy in Kansas City. And we know that their offense will be fine because they improved a ton on the offensive line, of a really good offensive line. So we know that offense is going to generally be okay, but you don't know which one of them individually is going to be the one that actually gets to production.
Here's why I'm more bullish on MVS in Kansas City than I was in Green Bay. Yes, he was take the top off the defense guy. We all know the first read for Aaron Rodgers, to a detriment, by the way, if you watch the San Francisco playoff game. But Aaron Rodgers, sneaky, doesn't take a lot of chances.
No.
A pretty conservative quarterback. And if he's going to be taking the top off the defense in Kansas City, he's got a quarterback that's going to throw it there. I don't think Patrick Mahomes lost that AFC Championship game, in his own words, by the way. This is not. I don't want the two and on smoke that fan base is getting right now. But he said that he just gets too greedy sometimes. If he sees MVS open, he's going to throw him the ball deep. And that's not always the case in Green Bay.
And MVS being the size and speed combination, to my knowledge, I don't think that Mahomes has had somebody of that build as a wide receiver, right? Like Tyreek Hill.
They always have Tyreek
Nicole
Hill's-
Hardman.
No one's got the build that Tyreek Hill has.
Right, but they have like
Weird
these
guy.
more diminutive wide receivers. Demarcus Robinson,
they're all
like
thinner.
their
But-
big guy was Kelsey. That
Sammy
was it.
Watkins?
Yeah, but he
Keep
was
in mind,
hurt.
Josh Gordon was getting reps for that team.
Yeah.
Because he had such a big body, a big frame for them.
This year, they've just kind of decided we believe in what our offense is. We're not going to invest in receivers. We're going to invest in offensive line and running game a little bit. We have Kelsey, and we're just going to try and get these guys to come through.
running game
and see
is
if Mahomes
interesting.
can just produce passing game by virtue of how good he is.
The running
Rojo
game is
guy?
interesting. No, I think Rojo's going to get cut. I don't
'Cause
think
it-
he's going to be on the team.
So all the buzz from the beat writers is that Rojo is going to be running back
The odd
one.
man out.
Finally,
It's Ronald Jones for the audience.
And finally unseat Edwards-Helaire, who I actually don't think is that bad. And they just
They
didn't
don't
run
use
it
him
with
right.
him.
He's
Like,
falling.
they don't use him right,
He's
by the
falling
way.
in drafts.
Yeah, because
Big time. I got him in the 8th round.
he got hurt last year, but if you watch their offense, the problem was they just wouldn't. He would run big chunk plays in that AFC Championship game. Giving the ball to Clyde Edwards-Helaire was a good play. It just didn't do it. He
Here's
was
the weird
running.
thing, Mike.
He was running at like 4.5 yards a clip. If they just kept doing that, they win that game.
He was one of the greatest running back catching passes out of the backfield at LSU. And what do they not do? They do not throw the ball to running backs, at least the way that they used to with Kareem Hunt.
Yeah, well, they wouldn't throw it to him.
Correct, which
He was
is the
so good at
weird
doing
part
that
of
in
what's
LSU,
happening.
But they favored other players in their own
Like
backfield.
Jerick McKinnon is now their guy catching passes.
Their
Who
third down back was Darrell Williams, who is now in like Arizona.
Right. But Rojo, I think, is going to be cut. They love Isaiah Pacheco, who's screaming up draft boards for some reason, right? Preseason hype. But the fact that they don't use Clyde in the way that he probably should be used, is catching passes out of the backfield and more of a Kareem Hunt role than, let's say, more of, I don't know, Jamal Charles' role. Like, they need to use him better. That's another factor.
I'm kind of sort of I'm easing my way into this NFL season, and so I was
You're
reading.
easing, you said?
Yeah, I'm easing.
Oh, you
my
need
way
to dive in, buddy.
Well, I mean, tonight's my fantasy draft, so I'm gonna like
Take off your clothes. Take off your clothes and dive in.
Jump on in.
Yeah,
Right
take your
now-
pants off.
Cannonball!
You're drawing a lukewarm bath. You're putting a bath bomb in it.
Yes.
Lit a few candles. and
You like
you're
a lukewarm bath?
Slowly easing your way in.
No, I like
Hot
I like
bath.
a hot bath. Yeah.
Hot bath, right?
Hot
You like
bath,
a
yeah.
good soak?
I do like a good soak.
Yeah, you let the water run. Do you put your hand under the faucet, or do you scoop it up like while it's in the tub while it's filling up? How do
No,
you
I
do it?
just I don't do much once I'm in. Once I'm in, it's just sort of
Bath
But you
bombs?
let it
Here
run,
hanging out.
or do you sit in there while it fills
No,
up?
no, no,
around
no.
you?
I let it run. I let it run. I start it and then I go walk and,
I like the
and
whole
do other
experience.
stuff.
I like
Bath
the whole
bombs
experience.
overrated.
I've never
so,
I've never
too.
done a bath bomb
Very
before.
chalky.
But they're pretty.
Yeah, it's just like
Chalky?
How many
What do you
bath
mean?
bombs
I
have you
don't
done?
feel bad
How
on
many
your
bath
body?
bombs have you
I have
done?
like one for my like kids ones.
No,
Yeah.
but you.
Well, 0.
Oh.
But I
Oh,
always
so
use
then-
it. I give
so
them.
then how can you say
'cause
they're
I
overrated?
I give them to my daughter because she wants them in her bath. And these packages, they're hard to open. They're very chalky. It makes a mess all over the floor when I'm trying to open up this packaging.
Isn't it a ball, though?
But they're
Not the ones
pretty.
I've got.
There are ones that there's different kinds, Tony, of bath bombs.
I also don't. I've never been in a bath bomb, so I don't know. That's why I'm asking.
When's the last time you took a bath?
God, maybe
By myself, a bath?
15 years
Like
ago,
when I
20
was
years
12.
ago. I don't know.
Really? I've taken 2 baths
Like I said, by
in the
myself.
last year.
Fist me,
And
Tony.
it was when
Yeah.
it was when my daughter and wife were out of the house. I was by myself. I drew myself a bath.
Ooh, a little mic time.
A little mic time, a little me time, and I just put
Such a funny visual. Like, imagine just walking
And
in.
you're really tall, like I am. So it's hard to get in the bath.
your feet up in the air, up
Yeah.
against the wall.
Yes.
I've got my hair in a towel, I'm just sitting at the edge of the
Listening to
tub.
Sade.
Yeah. Oh, brother, you better believe
You
it.
have the towel across your body
Yeah, I
right
got the
here.
Sonos. I got the Sonos in there, and it's always like in the middle of the afternoon, and I'm
Ooh, a
I'm
little
watching
afternoon
golf.
delight.
I'm just sitting in the tub, just watching golf, cracking open a tub Miller Lite, and just having the time of my life. I'm in that tub for like 3 hours. Yeah, that's me time.
By the end of that, that's got to be.
I am so pruny.
You're yeah, so
pruny.
pruny.
But it's like shock. Like I put my body through it. It's like cold now. Oh, hot now. It's a constant battle. All 3 hours, water levels are falling, rising. I cycle the water in and out.
Water's murky at this point.
Oh yeah. But no, I'm changing it out. Anytime it gets murky, that's a sign to me that we need to replace some of the water.
But you're easing into the season though, right?
Yeah, oh, yeah, that's
you're
right.
just
Yeah,
dipping
yeah,
a little-
yeah.
you're
That's
dipping a
right,
little
that's
toe
right.
into the tub.
I've drawn the tub.
drawn
the tub
the
is
tub.
the
You
tub
just
is starting
put
to fill
the
up.
in?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
I just twisted the drain so that the water will hold, and the water is I'd say about like 20% full right now.
Really?
But I'm
What does that
ramping
mean
up.
for
You're
you?
just sticking a big toe in.
Yeah,
it,
like what does
that's
that
it.
mean?
That means I have in my podcast app, I have folders that separate all the different podcasts I listen to. So I have my football folder. I've just started to go in there and just like I'll just fire up, Fantasy Focus and the Ringer NFL show and just a bunch of football shows or just like the Athletic Football show. Just trying to cram information in there to know stuff about teams.
Seems a little late, by the way.
Go off, King.
Yeah. You should have done this like in June. Start drawing baths.
Why?
Start drawing
No,
baths in June.
is too
You know
early.
what?
No, June is not
June
too
is
early.
way too early.
2 weeks ago, at least.
Here's what I've realized though, is that really the whole key to NFL analysis is to just make a decision about something based off no new information. Since
100%.
since
yes.
January and now, I'm just gonna decide I'm a Tua guy now. And I'm just gonna go all, or you know what? Arizona's playoff loss was enough. I'm completely
That's
out.
what
on the Cardinals.
Tony's doing with Juju. Like he's just decided.
Yeah, I was off on Juju. Yeah,
based
I was
on
off on Juju.
No information.
Now I'm back. No,
But
but
now
there was new information. Hold on, there was new
No,
information.
there's no new
Him getting
information.
a better
This is new
quarterback.
information. You guys are shaping my opinion. I'm going to walk it back. I think Juju's going to be good now.
Attaboy.
I'm sorry, I was wrong.
I don't. I think he's gonna have very pedestrian numbers.
What is pedestrian?
I think
to you?
Sky Moore's the guy.
I mean, I don't. Hey, look, I don't doubt
Not
that.
the guy. I'm
They
saying
just
I think
need
he's
to
gonna
actually
be productive.
feature him though.
Said he
Yeah.
was the
Do you think
guy.
he's going to be a dude or the guy?
I love a good third receiver on a great offense. Every year, that's who I pick as like the guy I
Have
think
you ever
is gonna
won?
be good. Yeah.
Okay.
Like a lot.
Recently?
Really?
Yes.
Tony is having a go at you
No,
here.
I'm asking because
that's your way
my
of
big
saying
mo-
I think you're secretly shitty at fantasy football.
How many times have
I'm
you won?
asking.
My big money league that I'm actually not. I'm moving on from it because
Wow.
a lot of politics. We don't need to get into it.
Controversy?
Not a big fan of the league anymore.
Oh,
but I've
wow.
been in it like 10 years. I think me and my partner won 3 or 4 times.
I do kind of want to get into it.
Just the guy who runs the league. Not a big fan of him.
It's Matt Gates.
Hey, yo.
Because I'm in that league.
We are presented by DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app today and use code Dan for a special offer when you sign up. That's code Dan only at DraftKings Sportsbook.
Stan Van Gundy. Yes, yes.
Stan Van Gundy. Give me a hug.
Stan Van Gundy.
Oh, Stan Van Gundy.
Oh, Stan Van Gundy. Oh, Stan Van Gundy. Oh, Stan Van Gundy. Look at him. Oh, it's SVG. SVG. SVG.
SVG.
Look at him. Look how much happier he is now that he's not coaching. Look at him. Look, he can
Everybody,
smile.
Stan Van Gundy. Come on now.
And to the left. Oh, stand to the right. Now stand one time.
Crisscross. Crisscross.
Stan Van Gundy, y'all.
It's enough. That is enough. Stan, we are very, very happy. Very happy to have you back. We want your opinions on all things. I texted him last night. I'm like, are you ready to come back with some nuggets, unretire him? He's like, no.
No, it's too much work. See, the nuggets now that I come up with is when I'm getting ready for a game, I come across something and then I'll like tweet it out. But to actually have to go do that work today, too much.
One Stan Van Gundy. There's only one Stan Van Gundy. One Stan Van Gundy. There's only one Stan Van Gundy.
What have you learned so far this season, Stan? Have you learned anything? Do you feel like there are some things that some wisdoms you can give us
About the NBA?
about teams? Somebody that you've seen,
Yeah.
some players that have surprised you, somebody whose defense is just some things that you've seen that you can make some pretty firm calculations on.
Well, I mean, I think that the three best teams and maybe the only three really good teams right now are in the West: Golden State, Phoenix, and Utah. But then I think when you get past the top teams in each division, I think what's changed is the East is stronger than the West is when you get beyond those three teams. But to me, those are the only three really good teams. Brooklyn has the potential to be good. So does Milwaukee. So does Miami. Yeah, that's it to me, those seven.
I believe in. I believe in SVG. I believe in SVG. I believe in SVG. I believe in SVG. I believe in SVG.
Very exciting. We're all very happy to have him. Happy to have Stan Van Gundy.
I think he's embarrassed.
Back. He is at this point. Can you explain to us, Stan, because you understand what we're witnessing, and I want you to explain to us with basketball perspective and passion how Steph Curry has taken the boundaries of what you thought were human limits on shooting and extended them to a place that you've never seen before.
Well, I think he has done that. I mean, the two things that he has done that really changed the game is his ability to shoot the three off the dribble, which that really was a shot as recently as probably 6 or 7 years ago that was just not a very good shot. In fact, a lot of coaches really didn't want guys shooting a lot of threes off the dribble because the percentage was low. Steph Curry changed all that. And then obviously the distance from which he can shoot at. I mean, it's he and Lillard are about the two that can shoot it from there. But I think even more than what Steph has done himself is how he's changed it for other guys. And so now we've got Dame Lillard and Trae Young and, Luka shooting threes off the dribble. I mean, the game has changed and that part of it, those type of three-pointers rather than just sort of an inside-out pass to a spot-up three has changed the game. And Steph's the guy who started all of that.
I want to stand with you on a mountain. I want to stand with you in the sea. I want to stand like this forever. I'm Stan Van Gundy.
Stan, is mayonnaise disgusting?
Oh, no. I saw that.
What?
No. That is the number one condiment. Like, if you can only have one condiment, and all the others are going to disappear from food.
Yep.
And there will be no other condiments.
Preach.
You got to go with mayonnaise.
Hell yeah.
He's right.
Got to go with mayonnaise.
Two Americas.
It's your number one condiment.
It works on a turkey sub, on a roast beef sub, on all cold cuts.
It works by
with
itself.
A burger. It works by itself. Chris
Tomato
is right.
sandwich?
Yeah.
Well, yes, and here's the thing, little known. Now, I will by choice put mustard on a hot dog, but mayonnaise works on a hot dog too.
Stan Van Gundy,
Stan, are you? Have you arrived at a place where you're concerned about Zion Williamson and his ability to stay healthy?
Well, I mean, you have to be. Look, I think we sort of went through it with a much smaller guy in Derrick Rose earlier in his career. I think these guys who are super explosive put strains on their body that are tough for their body to absorb. Look, we see it with, in Major League Baseball, we've got all these guys throwing 100 miles an hour now. And the one thing you know for sure is that every one of those guys is going to have surgery at some point in their career. Nobody's going to actually stay healthy. I just think people have become so strong and so explosive athletically that their bodies can't deal with it. And I think, Zion's a big guy and he's super explosive. And every time he lands, it's stress on his body. So I think he'll get back healthy and play well. But yeah, of course I've got concerns about it.
Deck the halls with Stan Van Gundy. La 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 la.
Chris, do you want to place in front of Stan Van Gundy the parking dilemma that you had this week to see how Stan deals with holiday, parking lot kerfuffles?
All right, Stan, you're walking to your car in a crowded mall parking lot during the holiday season. And as you're walking there, you see two cars kind of eye you at the same time. They put their blinkers on at the exact same time. Do you have any responsibility to say, no, this car gets it or this car gets it? Or do you just, clap your hands, get in the car, and they can fight how they will?
Well, see, now if they're coming from opposite directions, what's going to happen is whichever way you back out.
That's right.
You're going to, whether you consciously want to decide who gets the spot or not, you're going to decide because of the way you choose to back out. And so my guess is the car that doesn't get the spot's going to be pissed at you either way. So,
well, we're asking you what you do, okay? You have someone following you from the mall to your car. You have gotten in your car, and as you get into your car, that person is waiting behind you for 10 minutes, and now someone pulls in on the other side. What are you doing?
Well, I'm going to, a lot of times, you're angled in, so it doesn't matter. But if we're, talking square parking spaces where they can come either side, I'm going to make sure if I've got a real imbalance on the level of automobile there, like if somebody's driving a Mercedes or a BMW and somebody else has got
really
like my Chevy Tahoe, I'm going to make damn sure the Chevy Tahoe gets the parking space. And the guy with the Beamer can go on his own and try to find his own.
Wow.
But if I don't have that kind of imbalance, I'm going to try to figure it out. Age of the driver. I'm going to let a woman in before a man. I'm going to let an older person in before a younger person. I'm going to try to have a sense of
it's a lot of
justice.
work.
Engaging in class warfare. Stan Van Gundy.
I can't believe the amount of justice that he is dispensing with every decision. And I did not know whether that was hatred of the rich or pitying of the poor that you were doing with your class.
I wouldn't say, for the most part, I would say this. The poor aren't out driving their cars to shop at the mall. So we're not dealing with the poor. So we're dealing with the fairly well-off compared to more well-off, I would say, is more the comparison.
Stan, you're rich.
Yeah, you're by your own standard, your car and you are getting bumped out of that parking spot.
Well, not my car because I'm in the Chevy Tahoe. If they knew who I was, yes, I would get bumped out, perhaps. But if they just looked at the car, no, I'm not driving around in the Beamer or the Mercedes, so I wouldn't get bumped out.
Stan Van Gundy, 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 Stan Van
Stan Van Gundy, Stan Van Gundy.
Wow. Beautiful. Beautiful.
You critique them, you criticize them, and look at how they serenade you and exceed your every expectation.
Absolutely. I mean, they responded. That's what the great ones, when they're down, and people are speaking bad about them, they respond. And they just did here. They just did.
I can't get no Stan Van Gundy. I can't get no Stan Van Gundy. 'Cause I tried, and I tried, and I tried, and I tried. I can't get no. I can't get no. When I'm driving in my car, Stan Van Gundy comes on the radio. He's telling me more and more about some useless information supposed to inspire my imagination. I can't get no. I can't get no. It's so hard to say goodbye to SG.